What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us from Bravo TV's hit show, Below Deck Sailing. We have Daisy Kelliher coming on the show today. For a bit of background, Below Deck is a television franchise that captures the lives of people working on luxury yachts. The show gives insight to how the captain and crew navigate the waters of certain beautiful locations, as well as showing the behind the scenes look to working with charter guests. This show documents the various charters that happen, which includes how the captain and crew run the boat and any drama that happens along the way. Daisy's role is a chief stewardess, which is a highly established position that allows her to manage a team which takes care of the interior portion of the boat. Here is a season description of the current season of Below Deck Sailing. This season, Gary and Daisy leave their contentious dynamic behind as they bring their relationship into uncharted waters. Meanwhile, Daisy's desire for smooth sailing with her team is endangered as resentments between the stews emerge and threaten the hierarchy of the boat. In the galley, Chef Marco strives for the same standard of excellence he is accustomed to on land, but is pushed to his limits to sustain that at sea. With a twisted left pentagon, a litany of gruesome injuries, and a dangerous, potentially vessel-crippling accident that threatens the safety of everyone on board, this is Parzival 3's most epic charter season yet. I'm so excited for this interview. I hope you all enjoy. Here she is now, Daisy Kelliher. Hi, Daisy. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I understand you're on a bit of a break from the yachting industry right now for 2 months, right? You're on vacation?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am. I'm on vacation for a few months. I needed a break after the season, so not sure when I'll pick it up again because this has not been a vacation so far. So until I'm rested.
Gotcha. So you're coming out of LA, right?
I am. I'm in LA now. I got in last night. Serious jet lag. Fell asleep at 6:30 p.m., which is about I think it's like 1:30 a.m. my time. So I got a weird night's sleep, but
Mhm.
I'll stay up today and hopefully get a good night's sleep tomorrow or tonight.
Amazing. Well, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Just a bit about me and my platform. What I plan to do is open up the discussion surrounding mental health and well-being to eliminate stigma and to sort of spread some positivity in a world where that might be a little bit hard to find. So I know you're on a bit of a time crunch right now, so I'll keep it right to the point. So go ahead and tell the listener a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Daisy. I am the chief stew from Below Deck Sailing season 2 and 3. I'm a yachty. I've been doing it for it'll be 10 years next month, which is a long time. I come from Ireland, but I honestly have lived all over the world. Like was born in France, moved to Antigua, then Ireland, and yeah, I've been traveling really for the last like 15 years. So
Gotcha.
I'm Irish, but I actually haven't spent that much time in Ireland.
Oh, okay. Well, I was actually born in England. I came here to Canada when I was 6 years old.
Oh wow, we're in England.
So it was a town called Redditch, just below Stratford upon Avon.
I know it. I know it. Yeah, yeah.
Really, you know Redditch?
Yeah, I
Wow,
did.
no way. That's phenomenal. My last name, Kinsella, is actually Irish too.
I did notice that as well.
Awesome. That's so cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, no. So I've been traveling a lot, and I love it. And obviously, that's why I'm a yachty.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. So that's where you got the passion for yachting, is just to your overwhelming love of traveling.
Well, yeah, my dad. We've always been kind of encouraged to travel. My dad was a yachty for like, oh my god, since he was about like 18, maybe until he had me, so until his mid 30s.
Hmm.
So the stories, were just incredible of traveling the world. It was always really encouraged in our house. So was, international food and languages. So it became very natural to me. My mother's French, I
Right.
was born in France. So yeah, it's always been there. And my dad kind of was like, well, if you love yachting, or sorry, traveling, here's this perfect career for you. So
That's amazing. And you're doing a damn fine job, might I add.
thank
Doing very well for yourself. I love it.
thank you. I appreciate it.
So Captain Glenn seems like a very kind, approachable guy who really cares for his staff. What's it like working with Captain Glenn?
Yeah, I love it. He's exactly the kind of captain that I would choose to work for. He's a non-micromanager, which is the captain I usually work best with for kind of two reasons. One, I have authority issues. So
Okay.
I was always in trouble in school. I got suspended several times. always in detention. I just didn't deal with authority well. So, and I still don't, I'm much better at it, but it's the more kind of approach that I handle better. And the second
Yeah.
reason is because I'm not a green chief stew. I've been a chief stew for 8 years.
Wow.
I don't really need the same support that other chief stews need.
Yes.
So yeah, for me, it's kind of a perfect working relationship with Glenn, and extremely approachable, which again is very important for me because they do become your father figure. I have had several breakdowns during yachting, and it's always been my captain who I've turned to. So, and he is for me the kind of captain that I need to work with to deal with these kind of breakdowns. So yeah, he's awesome.
That's amazing. He really does seem like he genuinely cares. Like everything aside, he really seems like he would be there for his crew. I'm really glad you found that connection for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. And I'm glad it shines through on the screen because we felt it during the season as well.
Yeah. So, well, speaking to the season, so as we've seen on the show, technical issues can occur that send the boat and the crew like sort of into panic. So, what's it like when events such as, I don't know, power outages occur and then Mother Nature sort of takes over? What's that like?
And I think for me, it's not that big a deal because it's just not my department. I guess it would be kind of like working in an office building and the electricity goes out. You're kind of like, oh, not my problem. You call the engineer, the
Right. Yeah.
electrician. So for me, it's kind of easy to not get too hot and bothered about those things. I'm just more, it just changes my dynamic being like, okay, how do I deal with the gas? How do I do that? And in yachting, one of the key attributes you need is flexibility. If you are not flexible, you are just not going to thrive in the industry.
Yeah.
So being able to be flexible allows for those situations to really kind of, be water off a duck's back, just be like, oh, whatever, it's yachting. Let's just move on.
So you're saying it impacts more of your ability to work as opposed to your safety?
Yeah, I don't feel unsafe in these boats. I see the tickets they have to go through. I see the money that's put into these. I see the yard periods. I've never felt, unsafe. And I pick boats that have good reputations that, I kind of vet the boat just as much as they vet me. Yes, there are a lot of unsafe boats out there, but I've never worked on them because I work on very well established good reputations. Like I'll get an interview with the captain and I'll message everyone being like, do you know this captain? What's he like? What's the boat like? And like any industry, the longer you're in it and the higher up you are, the more you get to pick and choose your jobs. So I always felt very safe.
That's amazing. It's cool you have that sort of network then. I didn't know that existed.
Oh, yachting is the smallest network that is out there. It is
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a small world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So Below Deck Sailing and other Below Deck franchises have shown the importance of a chief stew and chef relationships. And I've seen this year it's sort of flourished. So can you describe that importance and how does it contribute to the overall success of the crew?
Yeah, it's a very important relationship. With me and the girls, it's very important, but because I'm an authoritative figure, and they automatically kind of have to respect me because of my title. But with the chef, they don't have to do that because we're both head of departments. So it's harder to gain their respect and gain their trust. And especially because they don't see what I do, that they're down in their galley. It's easier for me to be able to watch what they do.
Yeah.
But if I come in kind of going, this happened, they want this, it's very frustrating for them. But I'm like, my hands are tied. The guests have asked me this. Whereas I think if they could see how the guests were asking me, they would realize that I'm not leading the guests on. I really do have the chef's interests at heart, but we're there to give the guests want. And I think that's sometimes the break in communication happens. They're like, what the hell, I can't do this. And you're like, dude, if you saw me the way I was spoken to, like, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
So,
The chef doesn't really see much of that, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a huge element of A, communication, and B, trust, which if you ever went to a therapist or a couples therapist, they're going to say you need trust for good communication.
Yeah.
And without trust, you don't have good communication. So I actually think the foundation of why so many broken relationships between chefs and chief stews is a lack of trust. I think that chefs just think, you're right there to get them and you know, tear them down. That's, you saw it very clearly in my season with
Yeah.
Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
She just didn't believe me, and
Right.
it's like, this isn't me, I'm just telling you. So I've had pretty good relationships with my chefs because I think they do trust me. But yeah, very, very vital relationship. And
Mhm.
I think it's just, they just don't see each other's departments. And how do you trust someone if you're not seeing what they're doing?
Right. There's a lot of roles clashing there as well.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know, and like I said, we're both head of departments, but we're still integrated. Like with the deck and stew, we're totally different. Whereas the galley, we're both interior. Who's right? Who's wrong? You know, you might, if you're not on the same page of what you think dinner, you know, you're picturing what dinner is. So yeah, a lot of room for error there.
Yeah, and you sort of just touched on, you said if you would have seen just the way I was spoken, right? So how sort of the charter guests speak to you. So even before Below Deck, I'm sure you've had your fair share of experiences with rude charter guests. And I guess my question for you is, how do you rise above some of the actions and words of the more higher maintenance guests?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been quite lucky in my career and have had mainly a huge amount of respect from the people I work for. So I don't have any too many bad stories, but of course you always get the odd one, and or the odd
Yes.
person who speaks down to you.
Yeah.
But honestly, things like that just don't phase me. Like I you know, sometimes I'll be a bit frustrated, but I am so good at having, like, putting on a smile and just being like, whatever, you know, I've so much other stuff going on in my life. I'm like, this is not important. I do not need to get upset about the way this person is speaking to me right now. So yeah, for me, it comes not kind of naturally. And yeah, just don't, you know, the kind of the typical saying of don't sweat the small stuff. And to me, that's just small. It's just a job. I just need the money.
That's incredible. You can look at it that way. You have to be very headstrong to be in the yachting industry. And I think you've got that really down.
I've got it down at work, not so much my personal life. I'll
Oh,
be
okay.
extremely sensitive if
Oh,
friends of mine talk badly. And yeah, so there's, you know, there's always another side to it. But when it comes to work, and that's why it is so easy for me, because I care so much what my friends and colleagues think about me,
of
that I'm
course.
like, I
Yeah.
don't actually have the capacity to think of what you rude charter guest is saying to me right now. So yeah, it's easy for me.
So it's like you've got that work life balance sort of separated, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm much more of a like, I'm not that career driven.
Okay.
I think, you know, because we all have like aspirations,
Yes.
and career is very important to me. You know, I want to have a nice life. I want to be good at my job, but I won't ever be, you know, I'm never going to be the CEO of Facebook. Like, I just don't have it in me. I just don't have that drive. Whereas I'm much more about, you know, finding happiness through my friends and experiences. And it's important we have all these kind of different aspirations, but
Yes.
it's easy for me not to care about work because I'm like, no, I don't care about you. I care about my friends.
Of
So
course. Well, yeah, believe it or not, there's way more important things in life than just work, right?
yeah, and I mean, for people who it is like the be all and end all, and don't get me wrong, it's a huge part of my life, but
Yes.
for me, there's more important things. So that is honestly why it's so easy for me to walk away from these rude and disrespectful things, because I'm like, "Ugh, it's just a job. I just need to pay the bills, and so they can speak to me however they like."
Fair enough. Well, yeah, on the topic of work and your job, so you are under very frequent stress in this industry, whether that be, personal life issues or crew tensions or charter guest issues. So how would you describe your mental health while working on charter yachts? Is it mostly positive?
Um, I think, yeah, it's mostly positive. I think, uh, yeah, but it's so difficult in the industry because we can go weeks without having days off, and when we have these moments of breaking points, which everyone does,
Yeah.
it's so difficult. You have to get these emotions under control. Like, only recently I was on charter and I was having an argument with a guy who's in my life, and you know, I'd be crying making coffee, and then I'd be like, okay, I have to bring this coffee out and just wipe my tears and be like, here's your coffee. And it was so difficult. And then we were on the phone for hours, and I had to have the phone call in the crew mess where everyone was like bawling, crying, because the chef was sleeping, so I didn't want to disturb her. I couldn't go up on deck because the guests were outside.
Yeah.
So these moments are so not often, but they're very, very difficult. And it's important to have like the support from your crew. And yeah, if you are a very overly emotional person, or if you do suffer from mental health quite badly, not you can still have it, but if it's something that is you need to go running every day, you can't be you can't be a yachty. If you have to have your weekly therapy or your bi-weekly therapy, you can't because you mightn't have Wi-Fi, all these kind of things. So you do have to be quite secure and know how to handle your emotions, because there are weeks where we are at sea and finding ways to deal with it. So I think I'm okay. I'll go with okay.
That's good. No, I appreciate you telling me that. I appreciate you getting into these sort of topics with me. It's never really easy, but on that same sort of topic, how do you cope and let off some steam when things get a little bit tough for you? Like, because given that you're all in like such a close quarters of living space, and how are you able to sort of get away from it all and relax?
You can't. Like, as you can see, alcohol is definitely a very heavy coping mechanism. I use alcohol as a coping mechanism, and I'm really fortunate that I'm a really, really good drunk. Okay. I'm probably one of the best drunks that I know.
Nice.
So I'm so lucky. And I've had people say when I've been going through a tough time, and I'll go straight for wine or whatever, and they're like, Daisy, no. And I'm like, you need to let me do this, because I'll smile. Whereas if you don't, like, my anxiety will be so high and stuff. And then,
Interesting.
I'll watch it. And I'm like a rare commodity. I would never recommend this to anyone else. It is not but and it's something I shouldn't do, but I'm lucky and fortunate enough that it works. It doesn't work for me, that's not the right word, but it just doesn't impact my life negatively. Like, I won't do the drug texting, I won't, all this kind of stuff. But I think, other things is I'm a very social person, so I will try and spend time on my own. I'll go to my bunk, so I won't sit in the crew mess during lunch. Like, to me, that's alone time. And it's kind of out of character for me, because I'm such a social person, and I'm quite an alpha female and the center of conversation. But I will go, like, every day I'll go and have that 40 minutes on my own and just go into my cabin and just because it allows room for me to be social later on in the day and not let people annoy me. And the obvious things, like, I always feel better after I exercise, do yoga, go for a swim, being outside, that I can straight away feel my mood lift. So I'm living a healthy and clean lifestyle. I say I turn to drink, that's when things are really bad. But overall, as a general routine, I know in my mid-30s by now, clean eating, exercising, no alcohol. So if I do have times of bad anxiety, I'll look back and I'll be like, okay, I've been partying, I've been doing this, I need to have a week of just eating greens and vegetables and trying to exercise and
amazing,
and I'll feel my mood elevate. So having all these kind of cliche tools are going to help you during yachting and during the season, for sure.
So it seems like you really have those positive aspects of your life as well, like the eating healthy, exercising, and having a social life. But to add to your, you want to just sort of chill in your bunk alone. I mean, alone time is great, especially when you're constantly attending to charter guests, right?
Oh, definitely. I think it's easy as a yachty to spend so little time. And I honestly have separation anxiety, and like, I hate being on my own. On a boat, it's so different because you're never really on your own. So I love knowing people are in the crew mess, or I've got like a bunk buddy, and it's very unhealthy. But I do definitely try and practice those things of, like I said, going for a walk. I mean, usually I'm on my phone or something, which is, you're not really alone, but I do try to do it and go for dinner on my own, or read my book. And I'm very aware of being like, okay, I'm being around around people too much. I need to go and just be in your own and have your own thoughts. And it's definitely healthy.
Maybe address some Daisy Does Drama questions, right?
Exactly.
I'm a follower. I love that series. It's my favorite.
Oh gosh, I love how people think I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, please take this advice.
So last couple of questions here, sort of in relation to work as well. I know you've talked about the stresses of being in this industry, but does having your entire work life documented on camera ever get to you? Like, does it ever feel too much, or does the crew sort of just fade into the background? Because not only are you having to do your job well, but it's having to now be broadcasted.
Yeah, I think actually it really didn't bother me. I think the only times it really bothered me, especially in season one, not so much in the second season, was
Yes.
eating. I hated that. But for some reason, it just, and a few people, Glenn commented on a few times, extremely annoying and invasive having a camera stare at you while you're trying to eat.
Yeah.
Really didn't like that. It was annoying. I just felt invasive. It felt kind of intrusive. And then the second time was there were moments when we would have quite deep conversations in the cabins. And even though we knew what we were like signing up for and stuff, again, it felt kind of intrusive because I guess your cabin and when you're in bed in your pajamas, it's kind of, you don't realize maybe how private and vulnerable it is at the time, but it
Right.
really was highlighted to me when I was like, oh, we're trying, and we've talked about our family and stuff like that. And for some reason, when you're in the hot tub and you're talking about something really deep, it doesn't feel as invasive because you're choosing to speak in a public place. But when you go to your cabin, it's like in your bedroom and having it felt quite frustrating. I got used to it the second season.
Okay.
But other than that, no, it doesn't really. I'm like I said, I'm like, work, nah, it's fine, whatever.
That's very good. Yeah, I understand that. Absolutely. So I started watching Below Deck. I think it was like when I was going into my second year of university. So that's nearly 3 years ago. And it's been a part of my life and my household for quite some years now. I've watched all the shows, all the different sort of spin-offs and franchises. It's been a big part of my family. So I was wondering, just real quick, if you could give a shout out to my mom. Her name's Andrea.
Of course.
She's a
Hi,
big fan.
Andrea. So glad you're a fan of the show. And yeah, hope you keep watching me.
Oh, we will. We definitely will. I appreciate it. Sort of how I end this show with every single guest I have on here is I ask a question. It's going to be no different this time. We'll take some time to think about it. If you could wish for anything in the world, what would it be? Now that could be anything from a yacht or to an abundance of Chardonnay or world peace. It's completely up to you. What would you wish for if you could have anything in the world?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with something selfish, so it's not gonna be world peace.
So yeah, no problem.
Okay, fight me. I would love to find eternal contentness.
Wow.
I don't need to be happy.
Mhm.
I just wish I could find contentness in, yeah, that is what I would aspire and wish for. And it would, yeah, that would be lovely. But I'll
I
just
wish that for you, Daisy. Thank you so much for opening up about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This has been amazing. I really appreciate your time. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Real quick, I just want to say thank you so much to Daisy for coming on to this episode. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you. If you want more of Daisy, you can turn into Below Deck Sailing Yacht, which airs Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Bravo.